Hello, welcome to Hikate's Crossing. Okay, so I want to spend a little bit more time diving into the Māori Oracle. Okay, so let's sort of go into this. Now, this is a mass market deck. You can find it on Amazon for sure. Okay, so it says the Māori Oracle. I'm not going to read the Māori. Says when the first Kawa or Rotepuku was working on his waka, which is a canoe, legend says it was Puweriweri, which is spiders, that aided him in his work. It was especially fitting that they left the pattern of the Mawhai spiderweb behind them as they worked, as it speaks of the manner in which all is connected, from the astral lands of Hawa ki nui to Aotearoa, from past to future, from old to young. Okay, to those who have become as stars, shine always inside our hearts as a bright guiding star. She does talk about her thanks to those, the Tangana Whenua, who prefer to remain unnamed for their precious gifts. I think it's quite beautifully done. Okay, so it is created by Schiffer It is a Schiffer publishing deck. Okay, so it can be from schifferbooks.com. Okay, or from, of course, Amazon, as I said, maybe in some bookstores, things like that. So, okay, tēnā katu katoa, greetings to you all. In almost every culture that exists or has existed, there was once a belief in the presence of those who have passed on, and in most of these traditions, it was also believed that guidance could be sought from them. In many Western cultures, a small portion of these beliefs remain, but the bulk of them have fallen by the wayside. And in a modern world, those who have preceded us to the heavens often feel lost to us. For the traditional New Zealand Māori, these beliefs are still very strong, and from the bond between the living and the dead comes personal strength and a sense of purpose. The Māori Oracle is based around the ages-old tradition of consulting the ancestors and employs many of the teaching stories, omens and portents that were once used by the New Zealand Māori. Once upon a time, these ways were only told to those within the whānau, which means family. Adaptation to Western society over the last 100 years has meant that for many Māori families, these precious ways have been all but lost. Today in New Zealand, there is currently a drive towards the recovery and enrichment of Māori culture. And while there are still some who feel that Māori ways should only be taught to Māori, there are many more who believe that its survival lies in simply teaching it to any who want to learn. In this way, the Māori Oracle is an invitation to learn a little bit about Māori language and customs, and to understand and share in a small measure the Māori culture. To help people become familiar with the meanings of Māori words, there is an English translation in square brackets directly after most Māori words. Sometimes the meanings will vary, though, according to context. Most importantly, however, the Māori Oracle is a reconnection to one's ancestors and to loved ones who have passed on. A reminder, if you will, that they remain to give their help and love when we need it most, regardless of what symbols and icons are used. The cards themselves are the vehicle of a message in the language of spirit, a language that is universal. Okay, so I'm not going to go through everything. I think that's something, if you want to really dive into Māori spirituality, I think that is something that you need to do on a real personal level to understand a little bit more about Māori spirituality and what it means to to be part of that ancestral connection. I think that's really important. It comes only from a personal journey. Of course, there is a little bit about the Māori pronunciation in the book, a little bit about the cards. So let's look a little bit about the cards. The birds, plants, objects and stories featured in the cards are considered by many to be taonga, or national treasures. Each taonga is featured on a green background which imitates the panamu, or greenstone, which is essentially New Zealand jade. The panamu was very highly prized amongst Māori, and one solitary polished piece would be carefully handed down through the generations, just as the stories of the Māori have been. The carved-like patterns featured in the backgrounds of the cards have multiple meanings. Okay, so let's have a look at the cards here. Okay, so the carved-like patterns have multiple meanings. The outermost border pattern is called Pakati and has dual meaning of protection and prosperity. The second border, the one inside, represents the lashed raupo, that is done across the tops of the wakamokihi, bulrush canoes, used for travel specifically by the Katimamoa tribes from the South Island of New Zealand, to whom the author belongs. Okay, the mokihi still in use today are the oldest form of transport in New Zealand, and the pattern of the mokihi represents the past, travelling the gap of time. These cards are messengers from our past, also travelling the gap of time, and so the raupo lashing is most appropriate as a visual container for each kupu, which is like message. The internal pattern was inspired by a canoe bailer from the Katimamoa tribe and is directly symbolic of a successful travel. Because the purpose of the cards is to provide a means of contact with our tupuna, they are considered as touched by the tupuna. Things touched in this way become sacred, and the cards should be treated as such during and after use. There are a few Māori customs specific to the treatment of sacred objects. Okay, the first thing is they must not come into contact with cooked food or drink. Cooked food in Māori law has the ability to transfer tapu, sacred restriction, and effectively lifting the sacredness from an object, okay? It's important that they're not in a kitchen, laundry, bathroom, or toilet. Okay, they must not be taken into a kitchen, laundry, bathroom, or toilet. These areas, while important to the household, are common areas, and carrying or leaving a sacred object in them for Māori is tantamount to leaving your ancestors' bones in a toilet, okay? They shouldn't be handled by just anyone, but the person they are intended for. Handling objects touched by the tupunu is much the same as touching the tupunu themselves. It's simply not good manners to handle somebody else's relatives, okay? Hands are washed and the head is sprinkled with water after dealing with the sacred. And that's part of my daily practice anyway, so that's quite cool. It does talk about working with your tupuna, okay, which if you want to go more into, which you can dive into, of course, and then it does talk about reading the cards. The Māori Oracle is an oracle deck that you read for yourself. Remember that when you use the oracle, you are constantly asking for advice from ancestors and loved ones who have passed on. For each card you select, read, and give thought to the story and the meaning that comes with it, and then allow your instincts to tell you what your tupuna are trying to tell you. However, do try to keep the message pure. That is to say that you must be careful not to mix the message with that which you would prefer it to say. Whatever cards you select are all connected, giving you an answer that ranges across the human psyche. When you are ready and have made your preparations, breathe in deeply and be calm. Call to your tupuna, then shuffle the deck well while keeping your question firmly in mind. Make your question simple, then voice it. Cut the cards into 3 stacks. Each stack represents the 3 divine sources of knowledge. The Pūtea Wānanga, or knowledge, in Māoridom is said to come from 3 baskets called Ngā Pūtea Wānanga. They were obtained from the highest heaven by Tāne with the help of Kutuku, white heron, for the benefit of mankind. The names of the baskets vary from tribe to tribe, but they are commonly called Te Kete Aronui, Te Kete Tuatea, and Te Kete Tuauri. The order in which you have cut the cards has no bearing, but whichever stack you set as the first, second, or third basket of knowledge is what is important. So you need to select a card from each basket, but each time you select a card, you must be consciously aware of which basket you are drawing from. The first basket, Te Kete Aronui, which is the knowledge of the physical world. So the first card that you select is a card that talks about the physical world for you. It relates to physical needs, what is physically affecting you, what you physically need to do, and what is physically real for you. Aronui. Te Kete Aronui Nui. Te Kete Aronui. Okay. Second basket, Te Kete Tūātea, is the knowledge of ceremonies, customs, laws, and what is right and just. A card from the second basket relates to what we should be doing, to what will help us stay on the right path, to what inspires us and teaches us. It is a card that also relates to the emotions. Could it also represents what is emotionally real for you. Last one is, third basket is a difficult one. Te Kete Tuauri relates to knowledge that is concealed, magical knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and the world which you cannot see. It can relate to a possible future or a lost past. It can relate to the spiritual powers affecting you, or it can relate to self-deception. Are you disconnected? Are you at war with yourself and perhaps others? Is it your habit to ignore things in the hope they'll go away? It may be an answer that you already know, but you have been choosing to ignore. Only you will know that answer if you have the courage to be honest with what you see. Every card talks about what you need to consciously be aware of, and each answer lies its meaning and its significance, but also its lessons and its nature as a talisman. Every card is connected to the others and relates not only to the different aspects of each question, but to the different aspects of ourselves, the spiritual, the physical, and the emotional. Whenever you complete your reading, sincerely thank your tupuna for their gifts of guidance and give to them your offering. It might be a nice thing for you to leave any offerings of food outside for the children of the wild to partake in as well. After you've given your honours to your tupuna, take one very deep breath and release it, then wash your hands and face in clean water. It is a Māori custom to wash the hands and face after dealing with the sacred. It is a large part of the closing ritual for Māori and prevents the sacred from moving into common life. In this way, the sacred remains sacred. Okay, so let's have a look at so let's do that. Let's start with the baskets. Okay, so now for me personally, I feel like it's a very much personal choice in how you choose to use the deck, especially if you are not really connected to the Māori spirituality in that way, and you're using the deck as a way to find a sacredness within oneself. I think it's really important that you have that sense of, you're not practicing Māori spirituality in any way, unless you are Māori, of course, unless that is part of your culture, that is part of who you are as an individual. But for us that are not Māori, we may have Polynesian background, but we may not be Māori as such. I think it's important that we take this in a very sort of sacred way, in respect and integrity. Okay, so for me, I'm not Māori, even though I do have a Polynesian background on my birth father's side. Okay, but I am not Māori. So I do take this as a very sacred practice. Right. So I'm going to take a nice deep breath, and I'm going to shuffle the cards. And I feel like 3 cards are falling out. Card 1, card 2. And, oh, there it is. See, like I said, it's different for each of us, and how we going to do that. Oh, and cards for me fall out. So the first basket, Te Kete Aronui, is the physical world, and the physical one I have is Kina. Okay, Te Kete Tuauri, which is the knowledge of ceremonies, customs, laws, what's right and just. what we should be doing is Waikaka, okay, which is the eel, and then the last one here. The third basket was Kete Tuauri, Tuauri, relates to knowledge that is concealed, the magical knowledge, which is Meri. Okay, so the first one was Kina. Okay, so let's have a look and see what the Kina says, and see how we can relate that to the physical knowledge. Everything has its time and place. Okay, Kina is a spiny sea egg, right? Everything has its time and place. Kamoana, which is seafood, holds a special place for Māori, and favoured fishing spots are treasured for generations. Even in ancient times, inland Māori would travel miles to trade with coastal Māori. Kina is one of the many delicacies from the sea and is sought after throughout Raumati, which is summer. But there is a small window of time when the kina are at their very best if you can wait. From the time of the ballooning kowhai, you can eat them, but they won't be nearly as nice as if you waited until the bright red purakawa flowers have arrived. Even so, they're best taken at low tide on certain days between Aronui, the day after the full moon, and 3 days before Hiro, the day of the dark moon. Okay, everything has its time and place. So physically, if we're talking about physical needs, physically affecting you, physically need to do, and what's physically real for you, it feels like everything's moving in its right time. Everything is as it is physically. Okay, so that's kind of cool. The next card, the second one, was Kete Tuauri, which is the knowledge of ceremonies, customs, and laws. What's right and just. This is what's going to help me stay on the right path. What inspires and teaches me, and it is the Waikaka. Okay, Waikaka, which is a native mudfish. Okay, it says determination. Don't give up. Things will come right. So it's telling me that even though things are going to, things will happen in divine, things will happen when they're supposed to. It does feel like, don't give up. It's sort of like have patience. Things will come right. As a fish, the Waikaka has a special sense of survival, and when the streams where it lives slow to a trickle during Raumati, but again we have summer. Isn't that kind of interesting? Seems to be summer, and that summer is coming up for me now. So this is very much about this moment. This is very much about this season. This is very much about now. It buries into the mud and lives on the least that it can until the rains return. This is why it's called Waikaka, which means water cutting. Okay, interesting. So it's sort of like things will come at the right time. Don't give up. Have patience. There is a sense of, look at the actions that you actually need to take, even though things will seem to happen in the right timing. Okay, so the last card was Meri, which is the third basket, is Tika Tatarua, which is the concealed knowledge, the magical spiritual world. This is what we cannot see. So it could be the past, it could be the future, or it could be the self-deception in a way, or lost past, if you like, or the future, what we've going on. Okay, and so this was Meri. So let's have a look at Meri. Okay, Meri, which is like a weapon. And this talks about, okay, there are going to be some challenges, so I really need to plan my approach. There are going to be some difficulties, there could be some so it does talk about things coming in as they should, when the timing is right. Don't give up, be patient, but there are going to be some challenges, some difficulties, so I do need to plan my approach. Okay, so that's kind of what an interesting reading to think about. So what does that mean to you? If you think about what's going on in your life right now, are you sort of struggling with something? Are you feeling like things aren't quite working out? So this is sort of really telling us about being patient, about physically things are going to move in the right timing. Everything's about timing. Things will happen when they're supposed to. It's an acceptance of things happening when they're supposed to. But there's also that sense of determination. What action do we actually need to take with the process as well? How can we approach the difficulties and these challenges that we come across in this journey? Okay, so the mere. Although the mere is a symbol of battle, it is always important to first choose carefully the manner in which you fight and the battleground upon which you choose to stand. It is no mistake that the most valued of Māori warriors have been the most cunning. Not all warriors charge their opponents weapon in hands, and not all battles are fought on the battlefield. Many a seemingly hopeless situation has been won through wit and cunning. Careful planning will aid you in winning on your own ground. What an interesting message. So this to me is very much about at the moment. This is very much being in the now, because I'm in the summer. We're in the summer here in the southern hemisphere, which is very so this is telling me to be in the now, to be able to know that, have an acceptance that things will happen in divine timing, but what action can I actually take to approach the challenges and conflicts that are coming into my journey through this process. So having a sense of patience in a way so that you can plan carefully and take action with determination allows you to move through the difficulties, the conflicts, the challenges into where we want to go. What an interesting message for the beginning of the year. It's really got me thinking, got me reflecting about what's important to me right now in planning the journey that I have ahead of me. Okay, kind of interesting. Okay, so that's it from me. Don't forget to check the links down below. Check the links on my channel. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you know when the next video will be uploaded. But I do want to say a big thank you to all my subscribers. I want to thank you to all my Ko-Fi members and family and supporters on Ko-Fi. Thanks to those that have connected through the different apps across the board, especially with the new Blue Sky app. Remember, across the board you can find me as Hikate's Crossing in everything. Okay, I keep that across the board so you can find me wherever you your socials are. Okay, you can always find me. Okay, so that's it from me. Take care and blessings.